in this quick video I'm going to show you how to deal with PDCS or past due credit solutions. These are debt collectors that you've probably received a letter from or even had them knocking at your door. When I had debt collectors chasing me back in 2010, it caused me a lot of stress and anxiety, and to be frank, plenty of sleepless nights. But since then I've worked in the credit card industry for over 10 years, and I'm happy to say I've been able to use my insider knowledge to get myself out of debt and help thousands of other people out of debt. So today I'd like to share my knowledge by answering 5 frequently asked questions, such as are PDCS even legitimate? How to reduce your repayment amounts? How to stop past due credit solutions from contacting you? What happens if you ignore them? And what they're not allowed to do when they're collecting your debt. At the end of this video, I have a bonus tip on how you can write off some of your debt, so stick around to the end. Okay, question number 1. Are past due credit solutions legitimate? If you've received a letter in the post, then this is probably your first question. If you don't recognize the company name, it might be that they've purchased your debt from a different company, or they're a debt collector collecting on behalf of a different company. I can confirm that Past Due Credit Solutions is a UK registered company, and whilst there are a bunch of scams out there when it comes to debt collectors, I'm afraid this is unlikely to be a scam. However, you should never pay unless you're certain that the debt is yours. You're well within your rights to ask Past Due Credit Solutions to provide proof that the debt is yours. I have a free letter template that you can use to confirm that the debt is yours and confirm how much you owe. It's totally free, and I'll link that to in the description below. Okay, question number 2. What happens if you ignore past due credit solutions? Well, if you ignore debt collectors, your problem could escalate and become very serious. Past due credit solutions does have the right to take court action against you, and if you were to ignore court letters, you could end up with a county court judgment or a CCJ. This can have a major impact on your credit score and your chances of borrowing money in the future. If you do get a CCJ and you still don't pay, this could ultimately result in bailiffs coming to your home to take your valuable items or even your car. So please don't ignore them, and we'll get to what you should do later in this video. Question number 3. What are past due credit solutions not allowed to do? Despite being legally appointed to collect your debt or outright owning your debt, there's several things that past due credit solutions cannot do when it comes to collecting your debts. Knowing what they can and can't do will make you feel a lot more comfortable and confident when dealing with them. So here's the things they're legally not allowed to do. They're not allowed to visit your place of work without you giving them specific permission to do so. Before this rule was in place, by the way, some debt collectors would show up while you're working and try and make things awkward for you as a way of pressuring you into paying. And on a similar note, they're not allowed to speak to neighbours, friends or family about your debt. Again, this is to stop them trying to embarrass or shame you into paying your debt. Past due credit solutions can't contact or visit your home at unreasonable times of the day. For phone calls, most people would agree that calls before 8 AM are too early and calls after 9 PM are too late. But your circumstances might be different, for example, if you work night shifts. If you can't take calls during certain times, you can tell them. They should keep a record of this and avoid calling you during these times. You're well within your rights to make a complaint if they have called you during these times. Next, it's also good to know that they're not allowed to act in a threatening or intimidating way. Also, they should never pressurize you into paying larger installments than you can afford or hitting payment deadlines that are impossible. The regulations also say that they're not allowed to pressure you into selling your home or to take out credit to pay your debt. And the last thing debt collectors can't do is pretend to be bailiffs or enforcement agents. Unlike bailiffs, debt collectors can't force their way into your home or refuse to leave when you ask them to. And they're certainly not allowed to take any of your belongings or clamp your car. Okay, question number 4. How long can you be chased for debt? Well, under the Limitation Act of 1980, a creditor has 6 years to chase most unsecured unpaid debts or 12 years for some mortgage debts. This limitation period starts from the time of your last payment or when you last acknowledged the debt. Ultimately, debt collectors can't enforce their debts through the courts after 6 years, but if you've already been taken to court and have a CCJ registered against you, then unfortunately there's no end date. Okay, last question, and then I have that bonus tip how you can write off some of your debt. Question number 5. How do I pay less and come to an agreement with past due credit solutions? Well, there's a number of ways you might be able to reduce the amount you pay. If past due credit solutions are adding interest and charges to your debt, then you could ask them to freeze them to help you get back on track and clear your debts quicker. Debt collectors are more likely to reduce interest and charges if you can prove that you're in financial difficulties. I'd suggest you put together a budget showing your income and your essential living costs so you can clearly demonstrate that you're in financial difficulties. You can also use that same budget to negotiate reduced payments. Again, for this, you'll need to show why you can't afford higher repayments. So use your budget to write down your income and essential living costs so you can demonstrate what you can afford. Sometimes debt collectors will only agree to reduce payments for a set period of time, and at the end of this period, they'll want an update on your situation. Other times, they'll agree to much longer repayment periods. This will totally depend on the nature of your debt and your individual circumstances. If you have the cash, then you could make a full and final settlement offer. This is where you ask them if they'll accept a lump sum instead of the full balance. And in return for that lump sum, some debt collectors will write off the remainder of the debt. And as promised, here's my bonus tip on how you might be able to write off some of your debt. And it's not just with past due credit solutions, by the way. If you have other debts with other people, then there's lots of ways you can significantly reduce your repayments and even write off some of your debt. During my career in the credit card industry, I discovered there's 7 relatively unheard of debt solutions that are available in the UK. The industry doesn't really advertise these because most are either free or low cost. Now, unfortunately, these solutions are not available to everybody. You do need to be in specific circumstances, but there's probably at least one of these 7 solutions that you do qualify for. You could either be paying less than you do already right now, or maybe even write off some of that debt. To make it simple for you, I've created a free eligibility checker, which I've linked to in the description below. It's just 5 simple questions and it takes less than 30 seconds to do. It's things like, what is the total amount of your debt? How many people do you owe money to? Which country do you live in? Questions like that. And with these simple questions, I'll be able to tell you if you can reduce your repayments and even write off some of your debt. So click the link in the description and go and do that now.